Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Police Department declares a bar a public nuisance, or is it because the Democrats failed at actually keeping our city safe? But before we get to any of that, time for a daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
This morning, news broke that 5 students and 4 recent graduates of the University of Washington have had their visas canceled by the Trump administration. Now, it is fascinating to watch how every outlet covers this, because lamestream media is, they gave them no prior notice to the university or the students. Oh, no. And meanwhile, conservative media is good, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. The truth is, none of us actually know why these visas were canceled. Is it because they just happened to be illegal immigrants, which is still a crime, by the way? Is it they were part of the Hamas protests? Is it they were part of the BLM protests? Who knows? We don't know. Somebody's going to have egg on their face after this. Not so much conservative media, because conservative media is still saying even if it's somebody who their only crime was coming across the border illegally, which is still a pretty big crime, still gets to say they still committed a crime. Good. And don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. But likely, I'm speculating here. We don't know why yet. And I did reach out to the State Department. We wonder if it has anything to do with the multiple investigations, lawsuits, Title VI, Title IX investigations into University of Washington. University officials said in a statement that UW will continue to support them and provide the resources they need to be able to learn, teach, and succeed here. I'm sorry, teach? Now, that popped up my radar for a second. Why? Last week, we discussed how the University of Washington, when they caved to the Hamasniks that set up the anti-Semitic Gaza encampment last spring, one of the things they gave to the campers so that they would leave before graduation was, we'll create a Palestinian Studies Department. And when they said Palestinian Studies Department, they brought in a whole bunch of not just anti-Israel activists, but pro-Hamas lunatics, and your tax dollars paid for them to come here to set up this department. So when they say provide the resources they need to be able to learn, teach, and succeed, I think everybody in the media missed that one. You're talking about somebody who's a faculty member. There's faculty that may be part of this. They said we became aware of these actions during recent checks of international student records in the federal government student and visitor exchange information system. This record states the visa revocations were due to the immigration status violation. No additional information or details were provided, but we have no indication these actions are due to activism or any other protected free speech. Do your teachers, do you do any background check on your teachers? Do you hire illegal immigrants? Is that what they were? Or is it your faculty was rated one of the most anti-Semitic in the entire United States? Of course, they have to write the disclaimer. We're also not aware of any immigration officials coming to UW campuses related to the situation. To be fair, you have no idea who comes to your campuses. Your campus is wide open. Antifa people, sure. Pro-Hamas lunatics, sure. People affiliated with actual terrorist organizations, hey, we'll pay for their airfare. We didn't realize they were visiting dignitaries. We'll have them set up a department for us. Never mind the fact that that's what we're under investigation for. According to a statement, in a situation like this, the relevant Campus International Student Services Office immediately reaches out to the affected individual to encourage them to contact the office as soon as possible so that we can connect them with information and resources. That's right. We don't want those criminals being deported. Want to make sure they get their day in court. Wouldn't want those pro-Hamas lunatics being deported. These resources include access to legal services, available to students as part of their student fees, as well as mental health and academic support. You guys do that for any of the Jewish kids on campus last year? Any of them? Did you provide the legal services for them? Oh, wait, I forgot. Legal services is probably going to be like, oh, you're Jewish? Nope. Not going to do that. Now, they weren't the only ones. It was also revealed on Monday that the federal government also revoked the visas of 2 Gonzaga University students without notice to the school. Last month, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced he was revoking the visas of at least 300 foreign students, warning at the time, if you come to the U.S. to create a ruckus, you'll be kicked out. He told reporters it might be more than 300 at this point. He says, we do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa. Did you see what happened in New York City last night? Last night in New York City, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Grand Central Terminal is the big train station in New York. You've got trains that go out to the suburbs. You've got the subway stations there. You've got trains going in every direction, people going in every direction. Now, it's an old-timey train station, even though it's huge and massive. For those of you who don't know what it looks like, if you've seen The Avengers, you've seen Grand Central Station. Let me tell you where you saw it. You know where the Avengers assemble for the first time? And it does that pan around where you got Captain America and Iron Man and the Hulk and everybody standing there on that bridge? That bridge heads right into Grand Central Station. I Am Legend, where he gets hung up in that man-trap deal, that's Grand Central Station right there. Okay. So now you know what we're talking about. Their doors are not the sliding electronic doors. You pull them open. They look very old-timey. It's an old-timey looking train station. So they chained them with handcuffs and barricades and stopped people from commuting and trapped people inside the train station. Now, it was a whole bunch of people from within our lifetime. That is a group that is not already going, oh, you think anybody who supports Hamas or Palestinians is a terrorist organization. No, they are actually being investigated as a terrorist organization. Their leader, Nurdin Kaswami, is being sued by the victims of October 7th. And actually, New Yorkers looked like they had enough of this nonsense yesterday. They were throwing garbage out of their windows and bags of poo down on the protesters. Guys, you don't need to throw the bags of poo. I like how they were saying it was pet stuff. All right, guys, I know New Yorkers. New Yorkers don't clean up after their pets. That's number one. Number two, there are bags of trash everywhere in New York. They throw the poo if they do clean up there. They didn't bring it up to the top of their apartment building. I don't want to know where the poo came from. But anywho, they've had enough of this nonsense. Is anybody arresting these lunatics? Is anybody prosecuting these lunatics? University of Washington, instead of actually dealing with the fact that they were rated one of the most anti-Semitic campuses in the U.S., set up a Palestine Studies department and brought in Hamas supporters to be the educators, to help them develop the curriculum. So I'm really wondering, is it illegal immigrants? Is it people who are there on student visas who may have committed a crime? Are they Palestinian activists? Who are these people that lost their visas at University of Washington? So I reached out to the State Department. By the way, kudos to our State Department. They got back to me in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's the federal government got back to me in 10 minutes. United States has zero tolerance for non-citizens who violate U.S. laws. Those who break the law, including students, may face visa refusal, visa revocation, and or deportation, adding that the Department of State will continue to work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to administer and enforce U.S. visas and immigration laws. So they broke a law of some kind. It's not coming over the border illegally. If they came over the border illegally, odds are they wouldn't have the student visa in the first place. So this is looking more and more like it's the Palestinian types. Every prospective traveler to the United States undergoes extensive interagency security vetting. All visa applicants, no matter the visa type and where they are located, are continuously vetted. Security vetting runs from the time of each application through the adjudication of the visa and afterwards during the validity period of every issued visa to ensure the individual remains eligible to travel to the United States. Now, I reached out to the University of Washington. Their spokesperson, Victor Balta, told me, we have no indication these actions are due to activism or other protected free speech. Hang on a second. Protected free speech? So they didn't tell you anything. You said they didn't tell you anything. So if they didn't tell you anything, of course you have no indications. But are you implying that the stuff that happened on campus last year was protected free speech? Because we know it wasn't. He added, student legal services is a service paid for by student fees and donations that is available to all students, noting that students levy these fees on themselves. Now, the Trump administration's education department previously warned UW and dozens of other schools to protect Jewish students or lose federal funding. An October report showed widespread anti-Semitism on the UW campus. UW was among many schools that settled civil rights complaints with President Joe Biden's Department of Education in January before Trump came into office, and they didn't have any punishments. They wanted to make sure they got off the hook easy, quickly, as fast as possible. So, what do you think is going on here? I'm curious who you think these students are. Give us a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, there is other good news on the federal front. Yesterday, the Supreme Court granted President Donald Trump's request to vacate a lower court's ruling barring the administration from using a 1798 wartime immigration law to immediately deport Venezuelan nationals, including alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang, from the U.S., marking a significant victory for the administration. That means no more lunatic judges saying you have to bring the guy back from El Salvador who's an MS-13 gang member. That means you can deport all these alleged terrorists, all these alleged gang members. Justices on the High Court ruled 5-4 to grant the administration's request to lift the stay in a temporary victory for Trump and his allies. At issue, was the Alien Enemies Act, or the immigration law passed by Congress in 1789 to immediately remove certain illegal immigrants from U.S. soil. Prior to Trump's second term in the White House, it had been invoked just 3 times in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, during World War I, and during World War II. Lawyers for the Trump administration had urged the court to vacate the lower court's ruling, arguing in a Supreme Court filing that the lower court orders rebuffed their immigration agenda, including their ability to protect the nation against foreign terrorist organizations and risk debilitating effects for delicate foreign negotiations. They said today is a bad day to be a terrorist in the United States, said Kristi Noem in a video that she posted to X, adding that Trump was correct in using his authority on using the Alien Enemies Act to deport terrorists out of this country. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi called it a landmark decision and called it a victory for the rule of law, adding that an activist judge in Washington, D.C. does not have the jurisdiction to seize control over President Trump's authority to conduct foreign policy and keep the American people safe. The Department of Justice will continue fighting in court to make America safe again. J.D. Vance said this is a major loss for the lunatics and a major win for the American people. I love that guy. So this is amazing. This is really, really great that now you can deport all these lunatics, as J.D. Vance says. I like that him and I have similar vernacular. Now, what's funny to me is the federal judge who blocked the Trump administration's use of the wartime law of the Alien Enemies Act. So this one is now canceling a court hearing. Why? Because you got shut down by the Supreme Court. What's the point of your silly little hearing? In a minute order published Tuesday morning, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg announced that the previously scheduled afternoon hearing would be vacated in light of the High Court's ruling, which determined, among other things, that the appropriate venue for such proceedings is the Southern District of Texas, or wherever the plaintiffs that are subject to potential removal are currently being held. So, before you get excited about what the Supreme Court did, realize that little nuance there. That you may have problems out of Washington. You may have problems in California. You may have problems in blue cities, blue states, which have these radical judges, wherever these things are getting sent back to, because it's in their jurisdiction. You may have those issues down the road. This battle ain't over yet. Now, I ask you the question. Do you think that this is a win? I think it's a huge, huge win. Do you think this is it? This is going to set precedent? Or do you think that the left is going to continue to challenge this because these activist judges cannot deal with the ego hit of the Supreme Court overriding their rulings? I want to know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, a lot of people have their theories on why the left want the illegal immigrants here. Well, over the weekend, Representative Jasmine Crockett, who I'm convinced at this point is just saying the stuff so more people learn her name so she can challenge AOC for the throne of the face of the Democrat Party. And I feel bad every time we play one of Crockett's clips because Crockett's clips are unhinged crazy and she knows it, which is why she's saying it, because she wants the notoriety. But this one was a doozy. Give a listen.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Wait. Is she saying that she doesn't want to pick cotton anymore, so somebody else has to do it? Is she saying, no, we don't do that anymore? What is she exactly saying there? But if that was a Republican who made comments about picking cotton, what do you think would be happening to them right now? Jasmine Crockett instead gets the notoriety and the rock star status in the Democrat Party. What do you think she was implying there? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Because that's crazy. And imagine if a Republican had made a comment about picking cotton, what the blowback would be. Truth is, this ruling is a good thing. We can get rid of the criminals. We can kick them out of the country, the people who shouldn't be here anyway, because they're violating the rule of law. They are violating our laws. They are targeting people. They are part of terrorist organizations. They're part of gangs. They're part of whatever, and they're infecting our college campuses as well. This is a huge win for the U.S., but if you disagree with me, phone and text lines are open at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. A local restaurant has been declared a public nuisance by the Seattle Police Department. Is it their fault or the fault of Democrat officials? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I noticed the entire Seattle media establishment was covering this story yesterday, and none of them gave a lot of context to the story. It looked like they were just printing a press release from the Seattle Police Department. That's what you got us for. You listen 3 hours a day, you'll get all the context that nobody else around here gives you. So let's just pick on Como News for a second here, just because theirs is the one in front of me. But every single outlet printed almost the exact same story. A Seattle hookah lounge has been declared a nuisance property about 2 weeks after a deadly double shooting in the parking lot. Police Chief Sean Barnes, in a letter addressed to property owners, stated they need to start thinking of making big changes in the coming days or face steep penalties. The sign that once read Capri Bar and Restaurant on the turquoise building off Rainier Avenue South has been taken down just over a week since the tragedy. The only foot traffic near the Rainier Beach Hookah Lounge was for a food truck taking advantage of the empty parking lot. When I hear Capri Bar and Restaurant, does your mind work the way mine does? That's the name of the place in Goodfellas they always hang out in until they over-mortgage the thing and over-borrow the thing and then burn it to the ground. That's the Hula Hula Lounge. That's the place. Anywho, moving on from there. What happened was hours earlier, Chief Sean Barnes declared the weekend late night spot a chronic nuisance, which is a major relief for some neighbors. So Aaron Goodman, who lives nearby, told Como News it is a crucial first step in addressing this very serious public safety problem. Now, I'm not disagreeing that there's a lot of issues over there, but I know exactly where this place is. And it's not like the rest of the area is so nice. You got the Safeway over there where their parking lot, you're taking your life in your hands anytime you go there. There's been multiple shootings at the Safeway, but you didn't declare the Safeway a public nuisance. I have a very realistic question here. Is the crime because of the lack of police officers? Is the crime because of the neighborhood? Is the crime because criminals keep getting released from jail and they happen to be near there? Or is the crime because the restaurant doesn't have a bouncer? Why exactly is there so much crime in this one specific area? Now, online records, according to Como, show the city's attorney's office charged the business owner with 2 counts of keeping liquor at a public space without a license. That's clearly an issue. Clearly, things are not on the up and up at this location. But is it they know they can get away with whatever they want because there's no enforcement here in Seattle? Or is it there's no enforcement here in Seattle, they can get away with whatever they want? Do you realize that around here, we don't declare homeless encampments public nuisances, do we? No. And I'm not taking the restaurant side. It is clear the restaurant is not abiding by the regulations set forth by the city. But what I am saying is there's so many other things we don't deal with in this city. You guys never declared the Navigation Center a public nuisance, and that place literally gives out drugs. Literally had drug addicts coming to it to get high. Now, they were also operating between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., Goodman explained, serving alcohol, and there's no permit to sell alcohol between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And by the way, she's right, but there's no permit to allow you to sell heroin on the streets or fentanyl on the streets, and we allow that all the time. So I understand the frustration of the neighbors. I know the area very, very well. But what I can't get on board with is selective enforcement. You may think I am completely wrong about this. Now, I'm not sticking up for this restaurant. Clearly, if all these allegations are true, they are bending the rules. But what my issue is that we have so many things here in this city that are a public nuisance that we don't do anything about. By this logic, transit should be a public nuisance. How many shootings have there been on transit? How many stabbings have there been on transit? How many violent attacks have there been on transit? And Sound Transit hasn't done their job to actually take care of it. Metro hasn't actually done their jobs to take care of it, so much so that now their drivers are complaining. Everything in this city is a public nuisance because we don't have enough police officers, because we keep releasing prolific offenders. We had that homeless encampment next to City Hall for what, a year and a half? People were killed there. People's pets were killed there. And they didn't do anything about it until some woman got almost raped in the courthouse. We have tons of things around here that are public nuisances that none of them have been declared public nuisances. Do you think I'm way off base on this? or do you agree with me? Give me a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Norm in Mount Vernon. Norm, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari. So I have a comment about that Jasmine Crockett person. She reminds me of a unrefined Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and a really drunken, hasty Reverend Al Sharpton.
Just put them together and that's what you get?
That's what I get, because she tries to make a point, but she misses the mark, just like Nancy Pelosi would whenever she addressed the media about Trump back in his first term. And I'm so sick and tired of these double standards of people trying to put backlash against Republicans. If a Republican said what she said with the cotton fields and such, oh my gosh, they'd be hanging them by the noose. But her, I mean, this woman does not deserve to be on media or in a Senate seat because she is just trouble. She's just taking a page out of the squad's book.
Right. I think that the right made AOC what AOC is. I think the right made Ilhan Omar what Ilhan Omar is. I think the right made Rashida Tlaib what Rashida Tlaib is. And I think the reason that you don't know anybody else's names from the squad, except for sometimes Ayanna Pressley and Cori Bush, is because the media didn't give them enough coverage, and now Cori Bush is out of office. I think that we, just like we build up the Looney Tunes on The View, are building up Jasmine Crockett. Norm, great points. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. From the 206, the rule for the lounge is the rule for all. Shut them down after one warning. Another one from the 206 says red light districts attract red and blue lights. Yeah, you're not wrong about that one. Now, switching gears to vigilante justice here in Seattle, but not real vigilante justice. Apparently, vigilante stop signs? Yeah, this was a thing. I was listening to the news on my drive home on Friday, and they're talking about vigilante stop signs in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. So apparently some residents say these intersections are dangerous, and Seattle Department of Transportation won't do anything about it because they're too busy installing bike lanes at $11 million a mile. So because of that, what happened? Some neighbors took it upon themselves to install their own stop signs. Now, I commiserate with this because near my house, there's a street which is very, very dangerous. And ever since the Seattle Department of Transportation put those protected bike lanes and pushed the parking over more, you can't see when you're turning on to Wilson Avenue in Seward Park. A friend of my son's was T-boned because he was trying to come out of there and couldn't see the cars coming his direction. We've been begging the city for stop signs, and they won't do anything about it because they go, no, it's perfectly fine. In fact, there was one time, there's a blind curve. And what happened was in the area where there used to be parking, but now is a lane because they got rid of the parking, a tow truck, but it's the one with the flatbed that goes up on a ramp type angle, was setting up there to pull a car out of a ditch, and a minivan didn't see it sitting there. So they come around the corner at full speed, they're probably speeding to accomplish this, and they Dukes of Hazzard off the tow truck flatbed, flipping over and landing on the street. A lot of that is because of the Seattle Department of Transportation where they did this stupidity on a blind corner. So I understand the vigilante stop signs. Believe me, I really, really do. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Mike in Everett. Mike, what's going on?
I've never been to the Capri Lounge. Never heard of it before your show today, but something strikes very clear to me. They're willing to let all these other dangerous places go by without any sort of problems. However, if you sell liquor and you don't give the city its cut, you will be dealt with.
Ah, excellent point. The tax man cometh. So because they weren't getting their liquor license and all that, that's why they got shut down? That's what you think?
I do. Money talks, something else walks.
Mike, good perspective. Good call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, I think I realized what Trump's game plan is with all the tariffs. Is it 4D chess or is it a happy accident? My theory when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Have you noticed the theme among the mainstream media regarding the trade war? Are Republicans bailing on Trump? Well, not according to the polls. Trump's polling remains steady exactly where it is, around 48 to 50%. The mainstream media loves to say, well, Republicans are now second-guessing, saying this isn't what they voted for. Do I really need to play a montage of all times Donald Trump said, we're going to have the best tariffs, big, beautiful tariffs. They're going to be everywhere. We're going to put them on every country. He said it. This is what we voted for. Now, you may have a little buyer's remorse, perhaps. Maybe some people do. You can let me know if that's the case. Or you may just be getting a little nervous watching the stock market. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It's all over the place. But I have a theory. And I want to know what you think about my theory. So Donald Trump signed an executive order today, which was unleashing American energy, this time in the coal sector. But he said this while he was doing the signing.
And for those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them. and we're getting them for the right price because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in. They want to make deals.
So is Donald Trump using the tariffs for leverage? Is he using them to pay off the debt? He's mentioned a bunch of this stuff before. Which one? Is it all of the above? A friend of mine came up to me yesterday and mentioned something interesting, talking about how the U.S. debt gets renegotiated every now and again, and one of the negotiation cycles is actually coming up very, very soon. Could be as soon as May, more likely in June. There's also going to be a debt ceiling fight. So what happens when the stock market goes crazy? People pull their money out of the market and invest in bonds and other things or hold on to their money. Now, we know that the market was going up and up and up and up because Joe Biden was funneling so much money into the economy. People were pouring it into stuff because they had oodles of it. But then the average American, things were getting less affordable for them because costs were going up, especially because inflation went skyrocketing. Because what happens is when you spend and spend and spend and print money and print money and print money, you devalue the dollar. So what might be happening here? We're watching inflation. It's coming down because of all this, because the money isn't in the market anymore, because the money's being taken out of the economy. It's not superheated anymore. Goldman Sachs CEO was talking yesterday about how the Fed was projected to drop interest rates twice this year, and now they might be doing it 5 to 6 times this year because inflation is coming down so rapidly. What else is coming down? Oil prices. If oil prices are coming down, countries like Iran and Russia are not making as much money, which means they can't fund terror. They can't fund the war against Ukraine. We have said on this show before that Russia is a gas station with a nuclear arsenal. Well, now you might be taking away their money, but something else is at play. Yesterday, the EU said they were willing to make a deal with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump said, I'm not sure. It's not the best deal. We're not going to do it yet. And I said, wait a minute. They said 0 tariffs. What else do you want? If the EU is still buying gas from Russia, he wants them to buy gas from America. Not just does that help out American industry, not just does that create jobs here, but on top of that, what else that does is it takes the money away from Russia, and they're doing all the transactions in U.S. dollars, which helps the purchasing power and the value of the U.S. dollar. You following all this so far? You think I'm crazy or you think I'm right on the mark? Give us a call, 206-421-5757. So I think that the reason that Donald Trump is saying to the EU, yeah, no tariffs, fine, but that's not quite the deal I want, because he wants them to be buying their oil from us. On top of that, plus he's probably saying to the EU, how much more money are you going to fork over for this war with Ukraine that we're funding most of it? Multi-level negotiation. Now, the problem is Trump can't say all this out loud because then you're giving away the game plan. If this is his game plan, do you think it's a happy accident that all this is happening because we know he loves tariffs? Or do you think this was the plan the whole time? Because the one thing that has been a theme of this show is never underestimate Trump. Anytime we have, he manages to pull a rabbit out of his hat. It's really incredible. Is this all Scott Bessent's plan, the Secretary Treasurer? Is it all any of these guys' plans? And Donald Trump goes, I love tariffs. They're the best. And they're using it this way because the way Democrats use tariffs is to protect American jobs and protect unions. And that's working also, but it's going to take time for those things to ramp up. Over 70 countries have now said they want to make deals with the U.S. The stock market's all over the place because of the uncertainty. But inflation's coming down. Gas prices are coming down. Grocery prices are coming down. So while they say, oh, the stock market's going bonkers crazy, the average American who does not have money in the stock market is doing just fine. I'll tell you what, do the Amazon or the Walmart test, as they call it. What happens with the Amazon or the Walmart test? You go in to reorder something that you ordered a year ago. Has the pricing gone up? Has the pricing gone down? During the Biden administration, what happened? They would say, oh, prices have come down 11 cents on your barbecue. And you would go to your cart, Instacart, whatever it was, and say, I want to check out. And your prices would be much higher than before. And you said, what are they talking about? Now, if you look, they're actually coming down. Not our gas prices here in Washington, thanks to Democrat taxes, the Climate Commitment Act, and such. But do you think this is actually what's going on? I wonder if Donald Trump is playing 4D chess and we're all just along for the ride. Give me a call. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757 or text us at 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Don't forget, coming up at 4 o'clock, your chance to be part of the golden age of America. But first, when we come back, is America first the saying racist? One judge seems to think so. We'll give you that crazy story when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, told the funniest joke. I couldn't believe how funny it was. I literally burst out laughing when he said it. Tell me if you think it's as funny. Hang on. Let's hear him say it in his own words.
We believe in merit as Democrats. We believe in merit. Merit should be based on what you know, not who you know.
Wait, hang on. Since when do Democrats believe in merit? Please, I've been doing this a while now. Democrats don't believe in merit. They believe in, well, your skin color determines what you get, or your gender determines what you get, or how oppressed you are determines what you get. None of that has to do with merit at all. Republicans didn't come up with DEI or critical race theory or any of that garbage, or intersectionality. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but sure, keep saying it. We'll win the next election. I'm very excited about that, especially with radical judges like this. By the way, I think the Trump team is not making the case as effectively as it could for radical judges. And you're saying, what do you mean, Ari? Look, they just won with the Supreme Court. They need to focus on these little pieces of crazy as well to show all these radical judges that the Biden administration appointed. According to the National Desk, we know that America First is the campaign slogan of President Donald Trump. Well, one judge, U.S. District Judge Edward Chen, blocked the Trump administration from stripping deportation protections for Venezuelan illegals. That's something that's pretty much been overturned by the Supreme Court now. But in his ruling, he was saying that America First is racist terminology. He believes it sounds like racism towards immigrants, which I think is crazy. So if another country says, oh, I don't know, Russia first, is that racism? No, it may be nationalism. It's not racism. I think you're confusing your terminology for a second. If Italy goes Italy first, if the EU says EU first, I know it's multiple countries, but still, if we say Slava Ukraine, is that racist? Or is that just national patriotism for whatever your country is? It's a little bonkers crazy to say the terminology America First is racist in some way. You know who does think this stuff is racist? Pramila Jayapal. Oh, listen to her rant and rail on the floor today.
The lady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to H.R. 1526, a bill that would prohibit district courts from issuing nationwide injunctions. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle want you to believe that somehow these nationwide injunctions being issued by courts across the country against Donald Trump's illegal and unconstitutional actions are unfair. Well, here's the message. If you don't like the injunctions, don't do illegal, unconstitutional stuff.
Okay, so you're going to support keeping the border closed? You're going to support enforcing immigration law? You're going to support keeping criminals behind bars? You're going to do all that because you just said don't do illegal stuff. Last time I checked, you support all the people who do the illegal stuff, including the terrorists. We call you the Democrat representative from Hamas or Gaza because we know how much you support them. Yeah, I find this hypocrisy a little entertaining. Meanwhile, I asked you guys what you thought about my financial theory. 425 says, Ari, I think you are 100% correct. My company approved my transfer, and we're going to be moving in September because they've had enough of what's going on in Washington. Sorry to be losing you, but don't forget about the KVI app. Download it so you can keep listening to KVI. Make sure you subscribe on the podcast. You can do what I do with the New York traffic stations. I have them programmed in my car so I can listen for what I'm not dealing with right now. This from John in Auburn. Ari, you are always on the mark. If it wasn't for you, John and Lars, our area would be 1,000% blue. You bring the sanity to the insanity. Oh, that's not bad. I do like that one. This one here, Robin Lakewood says, slight correction. He believes the EU said zero tariffs on industrial goods. Yeah, I think that's something that they're discussing also. Because, for example, Israel still has an 83% tariff on American cars. By the way, I think it's in Israel's best interest and America's best interest if they get rid of that thing. Because imagine if we could sell them a ton of electric cars where Israel's reliant on the gas surrounding them, the oil surrounding them from countries that don't like them very much. You should see the gas prices in Israel. They're insane. I think that they should get all the electric cars from Rivian, from Tesla, from American car companies. And imagine what that will do for the American economy. They'll be buying the electric cars from us. In addition to that, in Israel, you won't have to deal with the gas problems that could be national security issues from the Arab countries surrounding it. John in Lakewood says, Trump's playing 4D chess. Tariffs are good for all the above. I'm not an advisor, but I put some dough into stocks last night. Expect a little downward, but way more upside. That's from John in Lakewood. Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. So this one here from Forrest Cat. Trump is the only president with the independence, smarts, bravado, and guts to take on the globalist scum and fix the world trade ripoff that has been allowed to decimate our manufacturers. Go Big Don. I like that. That's kind of funny. So if you disagree with me, we'd love to hear from you also. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, your chance to be part of the golden age of America, and you are going to need that money if you win, because the Democrats are planning to tax everything, maybe even the air you breathe. We'll have the craziest thing they want to put a tax on. When we come back, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Democrats want to tax everything. It's only a matter of time until they start taxing the air. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is time for your chance to be part of the golden age of America.
I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
That's right, my friends. It's time for KVI's Golden Age giveaway and your chance to win $2,025 and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card.
The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be.
He's 100% right. That is exactly what it's going to be. It is so nice of the president to take time out of his day every single day to join us at 4 o'clock so we could talk about the golden age of America, my friends.
But we're going to usher in a new golden age of American success.
He even brought a crowd with him. Isn't that nice? We don't usually have that many people here in the studio. So here's what you do, my friends. When I give you the keyword, you text the keyword and only the keyword, not your phone number, not your name, not your address. Like Liam Neeson, we will find you and let you be part of the golden age of America. You do not call us with the name, with the word. You do not call us with anything. You text it to 206-421-5757. And don't text it 30 times. You just get one chance. And if you text it multiple times, you void your own entry. Today's word is goal, as in goal, ole, 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 as in it should be your goal to win the Golden Age of America contest. So text the word goal, G-O-A-L, that's G-O-A-L, text it to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Your next chance to win comes up at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil Vandervoort. Also, don't forget you have until 5 o'clock today to text in the keyword GOAL, G-O-A-L, to 206-421-5757. Thank you to Daniel's Broiler for being one of our sponsors. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and so much more. Also, thank you to President Donald Trump for letting us be part of the golden age of America.
Well, and thank you, Ari. You do an incredible job and such an important voice. Thank you very much, Ari.
Every single day I look forward to hearing him say that about me. Every single day. When this contest is over, I will be sad because I don't get to talk to the president every single day anymore. I don't want to take that for granted. I really do enjoy that. And I really do hope you win. Why? Because Democrats are looking to tax everything. The House Republicans here in Washington put out a handy-dandy little chart that shows if the Democrats get their way on the budget, we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that what is happening with the budget gap is not about a budget gap. It's about out-of-control spending. The Democrats want to tax everything, not to fix the budget gap so they can spend even more. This chart shows the changes in Washington state spending versus the median household income. If enacted, the House Democrats' operating budget proposal would push state spending to new, unsustainable heights, far outpacing the economic reality of Washington's working families. In addition to that, these companies have already said they are going to leave. And if they leave, a lot of those incomes are going to be disappearing. The Columbian. They are not in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. They're a local Washington outlet, which means they lean in a different direction. Their editorial board said, quote, "We agree with the governor that Washington's financial situation is a 5-alarm fire, and in our view, it cannot be doused with more taxes. Belt tightening must be the way forward, and we hope Democrats will work with their Republican colleagues to reach a spending plan that will benefit all Washingtonians." Democrats heard this, and you know what they said? Let's balance the tax code. So you know how we're going to do that? Let's tax everything Republicans like. fishing, hunting, Zyn. That's right, those little nicotine packet things. Let's tax family vacations. Let's tax liquor. You know, if this was Spaceballs and we had the Perry Air cans, the Democrats are probably going to start bottling air and selling it to you just so they can tax it. No joke. Jason Mercier posted this over on social media. He posted the following. He's the vice president and director of research for Mountain States Policy Center. He wrote, I've seen it all now. A new bill in Washington proposes an online dating tax. So it will be levied and collected a monthly excise tax upon each owner of an online dating application. The rate of the tax is $1 per resident individual member per month. Remember when they said they were going to make your concert ticket prices cheaper? And then they said, no, let's put some taxes on that. Now they want to tax your online dating app. Are they insane? You know what? What if you don't get a date? Do you still get charged the tax then? There should be some kind of guarantee, don't you? Oh, it's the government. They don't give guarantees. Nah, we're not going to guarantee the police show up or the fire department shows up or your roads are in good shape. We're not going to do that. I wonder what else the Democrats in the Washington legislature can propose taxes on. How about when you add an item to your Amazon cart and don't buy it? How about for watching Instagram stories? How about using your Fitbit? Oh, I know. Let's tax jogging. That's right. Everybody out there at the park, to go through the park, we're just going to start taxing you as you come on through. No problem. We'll tax you for Zoom meetings. No more free Zoom meetings. We'll charge everybody for that one. I know. We're going to tax social media chats, right? How about logging into your MyChart to see your medical results? They haven't gotten around to that. Oh, here's one specifically because we live in Washington, right? Democrats can tax you anytime you lose your sunglasses. Well, actually, I think they do tax you for that one. Why? Because every time you lose them, you have to buy a new pair, which is why we all have 15 pairs of sunglasses floating around our houses, and you're paying the tax on that. I know. They'll tax everybody in Washington anytime they say, the mountain is out. The mountain is out. That's what they're going to tax you for, right? How about that one? Or how about this one? Jinxing the weather. They'll tax you for that one. What other insanity will the Democrats come up with to tax? Let me know your suggestions. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Give us a call or a text. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. I know what's going to happen. We're giving them ideas. We shouldn't give. This is a bad move. What am I doing? We're only giving them ideas. Absolutely crazy. Now, meanwhile, finally, the mainstream media is noticing that, hey, this property tax increase could be really, really bad. Como News reported this today. All right. Well, welcome to the party, pals. I'm sorry that you're late. We've been covering this since the beginning of the legislative session, but better late than never. There's a bill moving through the Washington State Legislature that would raise the cap on property taxes from 1% to 3%. The Association of Washington Cities is backing House Bill 2049, asking lawmakers to approve it and arguing that the existing cap on property taxes has stood stagnant for more than a generation and must be revised for local governments to continue providing services to its residents. How about you guys cut the spending on dumb things, and then you won't have these problems anymore? Let's just pick on Seattle for a minute. Anybody auditing the homeless industrial complex? Because you've thrown billions and billions and billions of dollars at it, and it's not getting any better. How about that? How about you guys do an audit of transit? How about you guys see where all the waste is in Sound Transit? That's a lot of government money right there. That's a lot of taxpayer money right there. How about you audit the departments of transportation? How about you guys audit all these drug programs where you're just giving out needles? How about you guys audit anything you're spending money on right now? No, they refuse to. In fact, they got mad at Bob Ferguson when he even suggested maybe we should tighten our belts just a little bit. Now, the Rental Housing Association of Washington is running this commercial which I think is very, very effective, talking about this latest thing where they want to impose rent control. The Democrats want House Bill 1217, and we know what that's going to do. It's going to drive people completely out of the market. That's what's going to happen. Listen to this.
Governor Ferguson has a blueprint to tackle Washington's housing crisis by building 200,000 new homes. Housing experts across the political spectrum agree when we don't build enough homes, prices rise for everyone. And rent control makes the problem worse by discouraging new construction. Support Governor Ferguson's plan to build 200,000 new homes by opposing the rent control bill.
Exactly, because what's going to happen is people are going to sell their houses and they're going to sell their rental units. And they're going to say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. We're out of here. Julie Moyer says, how about a tax on rainwater since it's organic? If we are using that in tubs to water our gardens, we should be taxed on everything that is organic. Be taxed more, yes. Oh, here's one from Dennis. They'll tax Ari Hoffman and anyone who listens to his show. Dennis, don't give them ideas. Don't do that to me, man. Don't do that. But yeah, I mean, that's no joke. These are the kind of things they're probably going to be doing. And meanwhile, we talked to our friend Glenn Morgan just the other day about how State Senator Emily Alvarado, Democrat, is facing an ethics complaint accusing her of violating state laws related to her employment with an organization lobbying for House Bill 1217. She's the legislation's prime sponsor. This is the rent control insanity, and she's lobbying for it. Now, our friend Glenn Morgan last week filed a complaint against Alvarado with the Legislative Ethics Board, writing in particular she is in violation of RCW 42.52.020, which is activities incompatible with public duties, and RCW 42.52.110 because of her employment with an organization that engages in lobbying efforts. According to its website, Columbia, Maryland-based Enterprise Community Partners has, together with its partners and funders, helped create or preserve 51,579 affordable homes by leveraging $3.85 billion in capital throughout Washington and Oregon. Morgan talked with the Center Square on Friday, and she said she essentially uses her position as a legislature to reward the company that she works for. That's what Glenn Morgan told them. He went on to note that he also filed public records requests for any related communications from Alvarado's office, which he said would probably really help ethics investigators. He says the ethics violation is clear-cut in his view, and that's why we had him on the show earlier this week to discuss that very thing. He said, if we don't exercise the limited oversight that we have in ethics laws, then they are just going to be continuously broken. I want to remind everybody of what Doge Washington found, the other thing we talked with Glenn Morgan about. He found that tons of these Democrats, a lot of the things they are backing are because of organizations they are affiliated with or working for. There was a whole list of them. I'll have to go back to Doge Washington, Wake Up Wah over on X and find that complete list of all the people and all their conflicts, all the politicians and all their conflicts, because it was so extensive. And because it was so extensive, we had this big issue. So my thing is, because we let it go for so long, and Glenn Morgan agrees, because we let these conflicts go on for so long, they just all started doing it. I think it was hard-pressed to find a Democrat who didn't have a conflict of interest. And that's why they're pushing this stuff, because these are the people who keep them in power, or these are the people who keep the food on the table. Speaking of conflicts, the Center Square had this article. Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown last month filed an amicus brief in support of Perkins Coie, a private law firm that filed a lawsuit in response to President Donald Trump's executive order seeking to end federal contracts with the firm and revoke its security clearance. Although the Center Square reported that the Attorney General had recently subcontracted with Perkins Coie, it has now obtained documents showing that the contract with the law firm was renewed and set to expire later this year, which was not disclosed in the amicus brief. Little bit of conflict of interest there, my friends. In response, a complaint has been filed with both the state and federal agencies, alleging ethical and legal violations by the Attorney General's office. The Washington Attorney General's office amicus brief, which was signed by 20 other state attorney generals, was filed the day after Perkins Coie's lawsuit, and states that the private law firm has represented clients in filing lawsuits against some of the amici states including challenges to the validity of state laws and the interpretation of state constitutional provisions. But while our positions in litigation may differ, the states, the courts, and the public all benefit when all sides to a dispute are effectively representative. So you guys didn't disclose this massive conflict of interests? Are you kidding me? Through the contract between the Washington AGO and Perkins Coie, first signed in 2020, the private law firm acts as special assistant attorney general to provide legal services for Washington State University, where the AGO has an entire division dedicated to representing the university. The contract states that Perkins Coie would provide high-quality legal services subject to the authority of the Washington AGO. According to one invoice obtained by the Center Square, Perkins Coie billed the Washington AGO $21,000 for legal services. And the contract was set to expire in 2023, but was renewed in 2024 and expires in 2025. Talk about a conflict of interest here, guys. Additionally, the contract stipulates that the AGO may terminate the contract at its sole discretion by giving a 15-day written notice of its intent to do so, so it could have done that. Perkins Coie is also prohibited from speaking to the media on or off record regarding the contract or work done under it unless prior express written approval is secured from the AGO. An ethics and legal complaint filed against the Washington AGO and obtained by the Center Square argued that by filing an amicus brief in support of Perkins Coie, the Washington AGO was effectively submitting an amicus brief to support one of its own attorneys. This conflict was never disclosed to the court or to the defense. It is unprecedented for a state attorney general to file an amicus brief in support of a private law firm that is in a contract dispute with the federal government. Look at how bad this can get with conflicts of interest. You know, just for this fun tonight, I'm going to head on over to Washington Doge's account and go through all those conflicts of interest because there's a ton of them, my friends. And we want to make sure you have full transparency regarding the people who want to tax you for the spending on behalf of their conflicts of interest. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, will the Superintendent of Public Instruction continue to risk school funding to keep institutionalized racism here in Washington? We'll have the answer for that when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And speaking of miseducation, some of you need to learn how to spell. So here's the thing. We had a little technical snafu during our Golden Age of America contest, but some of you also were not listening, so we're going to do it all over again because we heard your phone calls and we saw your texts. We're going to do it again so you get a bonus chance to enter to win the Golden Age of America contest right now.
But we're going to usher in a new golden age of American success.
So, here's what we're going to do to usher in our new golden age of KVI success. Here's what I want you to do, my friends. When I give you the keyword, you text it to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Spell it the way I give it to you, and you will not have a problem. But you text the keyword, not your name, not your phone number, nothing else, just the keyword to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Today's word is goal. Goal. As in, your goal should be to spell the word correctly. Goal. Your goal is to win the $2,050 and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. That should be your goal. Goal. Text goal, GOAL, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Remember, you have until 5 o'clock to enter the word GOAL, GOAL, at 206-421-5757. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Philip Vandervoort. Now, don't forget to check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and more. And I also want to thank President Trump for coming back again, one more time, to be part of the Golden Age of America.
Well, and thank you, Ari. You do an incredible job and such an important voice. Thank you very much, Ari.
He's so generous with his time, except for the Associated Press, because they suck.
So I would recommend, if you were listening at 4 o'clock and you texted in the word and you did not get a bounce back message, I would go ahead and text it again. I can't tell if the entries are retroactive or not. So when in doubt, text again. And you should get a bounce back message. And I want to thank the dozens of people who blew up the phone lines to let me know that there was a problem. We wouldn't have gotten it fixed as quickly as we did without so many folks catching that and calling it in and letting us know. So thank you, and my apologies for the inconvenience. The word is still the same. The word is still goal. Text it in, whether you entered early or not, or if you're just now getting this bonus play, the word is goal.
Exactly. And my friends, that's spelled Goal. I still see some of you having some difficulty there. Goal. Well, I wonder if Washington Superintendent of Public Instruction is going to do anything about the fact that kids here can't read, can't write, can't do math, or maybe just double down on DEI. Fox 13 has a story for us.
The White House is now asking all schools to sign a contract that they'll get rid of practices of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
If they don't, schools are risking federal funding, something the Trump administration says is a privilege, not a right. Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman joins us with what the state's top educator is saying about it.
Superintendent Chris Reichdel's office tells me they're working to understand the legality of this directive. That'll determine their next steps, and then, of course, the guidance that is sent out to school districts. While I do anticipate that there's going to be an update sometime next week, I can share with you some of the reaction Reichtel had in response to a letter sent by the Department of Education last month claiming that DEI policies and programs are illegal.
They're trying to intimidate us into that, which we will not be intimidated.
A stand superintendent of the Office of...
Whoa. Hang on a minute there. Trying to intimidate? Aren't you the one who tried to intimidate school districts around here if they said boys are not allowed to play in girls' sports anymore? Aren't you the one who sent letters trying to intimidate the Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association? Where you were saying, oh, it might be bad. You might face legal consequences if you stop letting the boys play in the girls' sports. Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
Public Instruction Chris Reykdal made clear last month in response to the U.S. Department of Education's letter warning schools they would lose funding if they did not end diversity, equity, and inclusion policies and practices.
Most of us, if you really look into the mirror, would say diversity is a good thing. Equity is an important way we live our lives to create more opportunity, and inclusion is where it starts.
The Trump administration delivering on its promises again. This is the certification schools must sign in exchange for federal funding. It leans into the landmark Supreme Court ruling in Students versus Fair Admissions v. Harvard, which said race can no longer be used as a negative or as a stereotype, saying eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it.
But DEI is not a harmful thing, it's a good thing. We cannot allow the federal government to take money away from the state of Washington on a right that is clearly in the states and clearly in our local governments and in our communities.
How is DEI a good thing? It's legalized discrimination. It is institutionalized racism and has a single school district, a single school. I'll give you just one school. Give me one school in Washington where the grades have improved after instituting DEI. In fact, after the show today, I'm going to send a request for comment to the superintendent of public instruction, which I am sure he will ignore, and say, can you name one school which instituted DEI where the grades got better? Because as we discussed yesterday, yet another survey is out showing that the grades in Washington have only gotten worse again. Now, I do love the feedback of some people online, some trolls in the comments. You know what they did? They took the section of the article which said Washington led the way over other states, but they didn't talk about how everybody's failing. We're just slightly more ahead of everybody. So we're the best of the worst? Oh, great. We're getting 56 instead of 30. Woo! Woo-hoo! That's not the own you guys think it is.
Let's talk impacts. Washington State receives 7% of its education budget from the federal government.
7% is not small, but it's also really, really doable if they'll protect the real key civil rights elements, what we call Title I for high poverty communities, meals for kids, and supports for students with disabilities.
Reykdal says those three...
Oh, they're going to take away the meals for the poor children. They're going to take the services for the disability. No, you're going to do that. And the reason you're going to do that is because you're the one who is deprioritizing those programs in favor of your virtue signaling nonsense. You are the one who is putting all that at risk for a program that doesn't even work. If DEI made kids less racist, I'd say let's talk about it. If DEI improved grades, I'd say let's talk about it. It doesn't do any of that. It has increased mental health problems. It has increased depression, anxiety, and it has lowered the grades of every kid in Washington public schools. You know who it's helped out, actually? All the kids who transferred out of public schools because they realize there's a better education out there, and all their parents. It's hurt their wallets because they have to pay for private schools, but it has helped those kids by chasing them away. Those are the only people that have been helped by your DEI insanity. I definitely have to reach out to his office tonight for comment. Find out exactly how he justifies any of this. When we come back, my friends, a local Tesla charging station was bombed and the FBI is now investigating? Well, the details for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I love that AI song for our new segment, which is talking about fool around and find out. Somebody's about to, because the FBI Seattle field office and local law enforcement partners are investigating an attack on a Tesla charging station that occurred early Tuesday morning in Lacey, Washington. According to the Post-Millennial, authorities respond to reports of a loud explosion and discovered damage to an electric vehicle charging station. There were no reported injuries, according to police. This happened around 1:34 a.m. this morning at a Tesla charging station in the parking lot near a Target at 655 Slater Kinney Road Southeast. Lacey Police Sergeant Jeremy Knight said in a press release that officers were dispatched to a malicious mischief call after multiple 911 callers described hearing a loud noise in the area. Officers arrived on scene and discovered the electric vehicle charging station had been damaged. FBI Seattle spokesperson Steve Byrne told the Post-Millennial in the statement that the federal agency is working with our partners to determine exactly what happened. Photos that were shared on social media show extensive damage to the 12-station Tesla charging center. The main control box looked like it was charred and blown out, leaving significant debris in the parking lot. Unless something went horribly wrong inside this thing itself, this looks like it was intentional. A nearby business owner posted about the matter in a Facebook group and wrote, "Lacey Supercharger is going to be offline for a while. Update, it was a bombing. FBI is here. We own the property adjacent and are looking through the cameras." Investigators have not confirmed if this is the case, being investigated as a bombing incident. This is one of several Tesla-related attacks in Washington state in recent weeks, which appear to stem from Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration as the head of Department of Government Efficiency. Now, we know that the FBI and the DOJ are investigating these incidents as domestic terror. So, the question here is, regarding all this, what are they so mad about? You don't like that they're exposing government waste? Do you know how bad the government waste is that even NBC, who is most definitely not in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy, is admitting how big of a problem it is? NBC did an entire segment inside that limestone mine of where they'd be keeping tens of thousands of filing cabinets of all the paperwork for the people who are no longer working for the federal government when they leave the federal government. Listen to NBC's report.
Buried deep inside this mine in western Pennsylvania is a little-known government office that handles a critical mission for the federal workforce, now set to be overhauled by the Department of Government Efficiency.
From the mine entrance, which they call the portal, we took some golf carts a few hundred feet down into the mine. You can feel the air change when you get inside, and you can see this is all just roughly cut out of the limestone. This was once a limestone mine. And down here, this is where we find the OPM office, where a few hundred federal employees process all retirement paperwork for the entire federal government.
It's an analog operation, all done on paper. It can take months for the Office of Personnel Management to process a case, potentially delaying retiree benefits.
The facility has literally miles of files, some 26,000 filing cabinets filled with retirement paperwork, some of them stacked 10 high.
Matt McIsaac runs the day-to-day operations inside.
When you look out over all of this, what do you see?
I see people. I see careers. I see service.
Now, what do you mean a mine?
When Elon Musk brought up the mine in an Oval Office appearance back in February as a target ripe for reform, McIsaac agreed.
He's right. We have to improve the way that we do things for federal employees and for the American public.
Wait. I thought all you lefties, you anarchists, were about the workers' rights. So here we are with a bunch of people saying this is crazy. This is why it's taking so long. Maybe we can do this a little bit better. And your response is to blow things up? Yeah, I hope they catch these guys as soon as possible. Now, I don't know if the Tesla charging stations have the cameras on them the same way the cars do, but I got to assume that's going to be an upgrade that's coming after all this insanity. What else did we find out? During a Capitol Hill hearing today, we found out that federal agencies spent more than $4.6 billion on furniture since 2021. Wait a minute. Why are you spending money on furniture if nobody's actually working in your offices?
On high-end pieces. Since fiscal year 2021, executive agencies have spent more than $4.6 billion on furniture alone. That amount could buy 9.2 million American families a modest $500 kitchen table. During the peak years of the COVID emergency, from 2020 to 2022, agencies spent $3.3 billion on furniture, even as work migrated to Zoom. The SEC managed to spend $700,000 furnishing a single conference room in New York. And social distancing guidelines failed to keep even the Centers for Disease Control from buying solar-powered picnic tables with charging ports that by their own rules should have sat unoccupied. And an added burden for taxpayers is that many spaces are in long-term disrepair, as we mentioned before. Federal buildings need $370 billion in fixes.
That's insane. That's out. Solar paneled charging tables. I didn't even know such a thing existed. But that's what they were spending your money on, because God forbid your cell phone will go down to 68% while you're outside your government building on your lunch break before you get back to an outlet inside the building. God forbid, God forbid. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Matt and Kent. Matt, what's going on, man?
Everything.
Everything. Okay. How can I help you today?
It's your sneeze tax.
Oh, a sneeze tax. Oh, so just like all the other things that we discussed, the Democrats possibly taxing. Now you want them to tax your sneezes. They'll tax your snoring, too. They'll tax your chair. They'll tax anything they can possibly do. In fact, it got lost in the whole word update thing, but if you have a suggestion of what you think the Democrats would tax, that's beyond ridiculous. Please text us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Yeah, we had a whole list of things the Democrats are thinking about taxing and the things they're actually taxing. There is nothing in the state that those Democrats will not tax. What are they doing? They're not trying to solve their out-of-control spending that got them in this huge budget gap. You know what they're trying to do? Spend even more. Not just the gap itself, but spend more on top of that. You know that's why they're not calling it the $7 billion budget gap, which it actually is. They're calling it a $15 billion budget gap because what they're saying is we want to fund all these programs also. And that's creating this massive budget gap. And they want you to pay for their reckless, out-of-control spending. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. One of our favorite Washington state legislators will be joining us next to tell him what happened when Bob Ferguson signed one of his bills. Gave him a special present. Was the governor amused or not? We got that exclusive story for you next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. or anything. Did he get it, or was he just trying to get out of there as fast as possible?
Oh, no, he understood exactly what the statement was, and he indicated that he would take a look later.
That's kind of par for the course. I'll take a look at the Constitution later. That sounds about right. Representative Matt Marshall, congratulations on getting not just the first GOP bill, but this is your first bill because you're a rookie this year, right?
Yep, it was my very first bill signed into law, so I was very happy about that. And the first one signed by a House GOP member by this governor.
Amazing. Congratulations on that, and thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for reminding us what exactly is behind our government, what it is based on, what it is founded upon, and thank you for reminding the governor of the exact same thing.
Of course, Ari. Anytime.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, another chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. But before we get to any of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Jay in Des Moines. Jay, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, how about a tax where if you pay any taxes, you have to pay a tax on the taxes you pay?
Don't give them any ideas. Stop giving them ideas. You're all terrible people. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. In fact, I've had a whole bunch of people. This one's good. This one's from Scott. He said, I've had it with unkept beards, so I would endorse the Democrats taxing beards. Women with beards pay double. What do you think of that one, Jay?
I'd be paying a big tax because I let my beard go.
I just grew mine back. I had to cut mine off when I was playing President Trump for the Jewish version of Halloween. Yeah, we got a lot of good suggestions, but if you guys want to tell us what your thoughts are on what the Democrats are going to tax next after they decide they want to tax dating apps, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. Jay, thanks for the laugh. Really do appreciate it. Like I said, you want to join in the conversation, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Darren says over on the text line, thanks for the budget talk. Now I know why the King County Chinook building is decked out in modern design furniture when no employees are present. My Floor's furniture arrived 2021 and 2022. Washington Doge volunteers, if you are listening, somebody want to find out how much they spent on that and why no employees are at the King County Chinook building? Maybe you want to find that one out. This one here from David Edgewood in Edgewood. He said, I want my original work record stored in that cave. I don't want the feds telling me they lost my information on a computer. Well, I think the feds were lying to you, David. I think they were in that cave. Is what's actually going on. Meanwhile, more winning for the Trump administration. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court sided with the Trump administration and upheld the mass firing of tens of thousands of probationary federal employees, granting a request for an emergency administrative stay on a lower court order blocking the firings. The majority of the high court ruled that the plaintiffs' 9 nonprofit organizations who had sued to reinstate the employees lacked the standing to sue. So, according to the court order, the district court's injunction was based solely on the allegations of the 9 nonprofit organization plaintiffs in the case. But under established law, those allegations are presently insufficient to support the organization's standings. Why do I mention this case? So many of these cases, as I said, by the lower courts, I've read a bunch of these cases. There's no law they cite. They just go, yeah, Trump bad. I agree with the plaintiffs. There's no actual law. You got to cite the law. It makes me wonder what were the qualifications of a lot of these judges that Biden administration put into office. By the way, we're not saying Joe Biden anymore. Joe Biden didn't put anybody on the bench. Joe Biden didn't do anything. In fact, it looks like more and more that Joe Biden didn't even know he was president. It was the auto pen or whoever was actually running the show over there. Meanwhile, in other Supreme Court news, yesterday, the Supreme Court granted President Donald Trump's request to vacate a lower court's ruling, barring the administration from using a 1798 wartime immigration law to immediately deport Venezuelan nationals, including alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang from the U.S., which is a significant victory for the administration. According to Fox News, justices on the High Court ruled 5-4 to grant the administration's request to lift the stay in a temporary victory for Trump and his allies. At issue was the Alien Enemies Act, or the immigration law passed by Congress in 1798 to immediately remove certain migrants, they say, from U.S. soil. Prior to Trump's second White House term, it had been invoked just 3 times in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, during the World War I, and most recently during World War II. Lawyers for the Trump administration had urged the court to vacate the lower court ruling because, once again, it had no actual legal standing, arguing in a Supreme Court filing that the lower court orders rebuffed their immigration agenda, including their ability to protect the nation against foreign terrorist organizations and risk debilitating effects for delicate foreign negotiations. Now, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said in a video that she posted on X, "Today's a bad day to be a terrorist in the U.S. of A., adding that Donald Trump was correct in using his authority on using the Alien Enemies Act to deport terrorists out of this country. Pam Bondi called the landmark decision a victory for the rule of law, adding that an activist judge in Washington, D.C. does not have the jurisdiction to seize control of President Trump's authority to conduct foreign policy and keep American people safe. She said the Department of Justice will continue fighting in court to make America safe again. J.D. Vance wrote, "Onward!" He said this is a major loss for the lunatics and a major win for the American people. He talks like I do. I use that word all the time. The Supreme Court's ruling follows a temporary order from U.S. District Judge James Boasberg last month blocking the administration's use of the 1798 law for 14 days while he considered the case on its merits. Now, this was upheld by a federal appeals court, and none of them actually used any law. In fact, Boasberg had an embarrassing moment today. He was supposed to be having a hearing on this kind of stuff, and it's kind of superfluous when all of a sudden the Supreme Court overturns one of your rulings. So, yeah, done. Both Boasberg and the appellate panel sharply questioned the administration over Trump's proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act just because they didn't like it. They didn't have any actual case law backing them up. They just wanted the illegal immigrants to stay. They just wanted the gang members to stay. They just wanted all these people to stay. Now, the question becomes, what happens to the students at the University of Washington who no longer have student visas? We found out this morning that 5 students and 4 recent graduates at UW have had their visas canceled by the federal government without prior notice to the university or the students. Are we required to give a university notice? Are we required to give the students notice? University officials said in a statement that UW will continue to support them and provide the resources they need to be able to learn, teach, and... learn and teach? These are some of your professors. How did they lose their student visas? What were they doing that cost them their student visas? And what do you have them teaching right now? Quote, "We became aware of these actions during recent checks of international student records in the federal government Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. The record states that the visa revocations were due to an immigration status violation. No additional information or details were provided, but we have no indication that these actions are due to activism or other protected free speech." The truth is, you don't know. You don't actually know because they didn't tell you anything. They said, "We're also not aware of any immigration officials coming to UW campuses related to the situation." Oh, so they don't want a whole bunch of protesters coming there saying, "You let ICE on campus." So wait a second. I have a lot of questions here. You know the activist lunatics are going to go bonkers one day this week, if not this weekend. And they're going to go absolutely crazy over this and claim it's a free speech issue. We don't even know what the issue is yet. According to the statement, in a situation like this, the relevant campus International Student Services Office immediately reaches out to the affected individuals to encourage them to contact the office as soon as possible so we can connect them with information and resources. So now you're going to help them out? What exactly did they do? How did they break the law? What cost them their student visas? Because why are we now going to spend money helping them when they may be the lunatics who were blocking Jewish students on campus? Okay, so one of the bigger issues I happen to be present for. Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time last year when the encampment was there. And I'm walking towards the encampment, and I'm walking around because we had just come from Charlie Kirk's event with Turning Point USA. And I just wanted to see what was going on campus. And I came upon this barricade. There's video of it online. In fact, hang on a second. I think I have some audio of this here. One second. Let me just go through my files here and see if it's here inside the system. Oh, yes, it is. So this is what happened. I came around a corner and saw a bunch of students being blocked by a bunch of people behind a barricade.
All right, we're moving it up for everybody. Sorry, we're not able to get in at all for no reason.
Are you guys students here?
Yes, we are.
And they're not letting any of you in?
No one's going in. They said no Jews allowed.
Wait. Sorry, what'd they tell you?
No Jews allowed. They said come back with a mask. We asked at the other entrance. They said, do you have a mask? And they said, no, come over here.
Did they say come back with a yellow star? Because that seems to be, I mean, I noticed they're all wearing armbands. This looks really familiar from our history. Is that to know who's supposed to be in here? Is that what those are for? You guys study your history? How'd you get into college here?
So what I noticed was, and if you watch the video, I'll reshare it later over on my social media channels, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over on Twitter. If you look at these videos, those don't look like college kids on the other side of those barriers. I remarked at the time, it looked like a lot of off-campus activists, and it looked like a lot of older people. Now, they didn't look my age, and I do know that I said this to my wife the other day. I was describing somebody, and she said, well, can you describe the person? I said, I don't know, they're middle-aged. And she goes, Ari, you're now middle-aged. You don't get to say middle-aged anymore. Now it's older than that. Hate to break it to you. Yes, I have a birthday coming up. I don't want to talk about it. It's a sore subject. But, yeah, these people look too old to be college students, a lot of them, and I wondered if they were faculty. I wondered if they're teachers' assistants. I wondered if they're graduate students. I wonder if they're just off-campus activists. Now we may actually have the answer to that question. UW wasn't alone. It was revealed on Monday that the federal government also revoked the visas of 2 Gonzaga University students without notice to the school. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this may be the first time I've ever mentioned Gonzaga on the show. I don't think I've ever talked about Gonzaga. Did something happen at Gonzaga that I didn't know about? Or were those students going somewhere else to cause trouble and they found out they went to Gonzaga? To my knowledge, none of this nonsense happened at Gonzaga. They've stayed off my radar. Now, I may be wrong, and it just may not have crossed my desk. I get a lot of tips and stuff. But I'll tell you something. If I missed what happened in Gonzaga, we'll make up for it now. Email me, ari@kvi.com. It's ari@kvi.com, and let me know what happened. Last month, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced he would be revoking the visas of at least 300 foreign students, warning at the time that if you come to the U.S. to create a ruckus, that's a direct quote, you'll be kicked out. He told reporters it might be more than 300 at this point, adding, we do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa. A State Department spokesperson told us today when we reached out for comment, they said on background that the United States has zero tolerance for non-citizens who violate U.S. laws. Those who break the law, including students, may face visa refusal, visa revocation, and or deportation, adding that the Department of State will continue to work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to administer and enforce U.S. visas and immigration laws. So now this group at the University of Washington is supporting people who may have allegedly broken U.S. laws. I want to make sure we have that clear for everybody, because they said people who learn and teach at the University of Washington. University spokesperson Victor Balta told us, we have no indication these actions are due to activism or other protected free speech. Well, what other laws could they have broken? There are other laws. All it takes is one strike and you're out with this stuff. Said student legal service is a service paid for by student fees and donations that is available to all students, noting the students levy these fees on themselves. I'm a little confused by how that works. It's donations to the university that then go towards student legal funds? If you're giving them an office on campus or any school resources, you guys are funding them. You know what I think this clarification is about? Let me read that to you one more time. Ready? Student legal services is a service paid for by student fees and donations that is available to all students, and students levy these fees on themselves. Do you know what that's code for? Oh, please, God, don't take away our federal funding. We're not using it for this. Please don't take away our federal funding. We know we're in hot water already. Please, 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 Donald Trump, don't take away UW's federal funding. I think that's what that's about. The Trump administration's education department previously warned UW and dozens of other schools to protect Jewish students or lose federal funding. Como News reported in February that activists rallied at UW's Seattle campus to protest immigration arrests and detention in Western Washington. An October report showed widespread anti-Semitism on the UW campus. UW was among many schools that settled civil rights complaints with the Biden administration's Department of Education in January with no punishments for the university before Trump took office because they were desperate to settle those cases. Pressure is mounted on UW to address the anti-Semitism on campus, yet the administration has worked with anti-Israel figures on and off campus, including a professor known for cheering on violent anti-Israel protests. UW previously caved to the demands of a violent Gaza encampment that took over the campus quad for 3 weeks and agreed to form the Faculty Committee on the Scholarship of Palestine to examine opportunities to deepen our expertise in the scholarship of Palestine into a range of existing academic units. Are we having bomb-making classes, rock-throwing classes, rocket launching classes? Oh, we can work with the astronomy club and the robotics guys. Oh, great. Look at the synergy that's going on at the University of Washington. Isn't that phenomenal? We did this report last week where they're literally bringing in terrorist supporters. Your tax dollars are supplementing these guys coming in to form this Palestine Education Committee that was established because of the demands of the terrorists who took control of the Quad for almost a month. You guys are giving into the mob. You're going to have more and more problems. Mike, I think it's going to be a hopping weekend this weekend at the University of Washington. You know, the cherry blossom trees are out. It's one of the last weekends to get to enjoy them before the seasons switch. What do you want to bet? There's going to be another encampment on campus because they're mad about these students getting deported. Just watch. Just watch. I'm rarely wrong about these things. I bet you they're going to try again. The question is the university just going to roll over? Because Anna Marie Cauchi is still in charge. She still has her job as president of UW. She never got a congressional hearing. Well, you know what, my friends? Year ain't over yet. When's graduation? May, June at University of Washington? I think there's still more than enough time to haul Anna Marie Cauchi or Cauci or whatever her name is in front of Congress so she can answer for what happened on her campus last year where she was sitting in her office saying, I don't hear anti-Semitism. It sounds perfectly peaceful to me. Give me a break. We've seen her emails. We know what this is all about. Yeah. We want to know what happened on that campus, and I would love to see her in the hot seat. Do you think these lunatics are going to try this again, and do you think UW is going to do anything about it? Give us a call or a text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Or maybe you think these students shouldn't lose their student visas. Give us a call if you disagree with us, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Lots of local crime stories happening around here. We know how you guys love the true crime, so we're going to give you an entire segment full of it. But first, here's Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Remember, you can always stream the show over on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and, of course, over on X. So you can see this beautiful face, where I grew my beard back, by the way, and my receding hairline, yet another way to watch the Ari Hoffman Show. Well, we have an update for you on this explosion out at the Tesla charging station in Lacey, Washington. Now, this has not been confirmed yet, the update I'm going to give you. I'm getting this from social media. Some people are writing on social media because the FBI is investigating it as a bombing from our information, from our sources, from Katie Daviscourt over at the Post Millennial. But now some people are posting on social media that there is tons of video footage of the incident. And I haven't actually seen the video footage, but I think Katie's working on getting it. But in addition to that, we are seeing reports that somebody set fire, allegedly, to the charging station, and then it exploded. Now, we don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what some people in the neighborhood are writing right now. If you have any information about this case, first of all, contact the local FBI office in Seattle. Do that first. But then send it on over to us. We would love to know what you've seen, especially if you have video footage. Email ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. We would love to see what you have because this person should face federal charges. We want to know what you know, and we want to help out, and we can get that stuff to the authorities. Let's see what else is going on in true crime around here. So the Renton Police Department is now saying in a video they put out that crime isn't going down, but people just aren't reporting it. This came from Renton's Police Department's own social media accounts.
I'm Dennis Moynihan. I'm one of the sergeants for our direct enforcement team. We're responsible for a lot of the problems that we have downtown and trying to figure out how to solve those. And we're finding out that there's a lot of underreporting of problems or people don't think their problem's big enough to call 911 about. So if there's anything going on that makes you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, call and let us deal with it for you. We can make a decision about what happens from there, whether we trespass somebody from the store. They're not going to get in any trouble when we come and talk to them and say that they're trespassed. They're just going to be told to leave the property and that they can't come back for a year. If they do return, that's when they get in trouble and they could be arrested and taken to jail. So the big takeaway is that any time you have a problem, if it's in progress, call 911. We'll get a patrol officer here, and we try to intervene as soon as possible, prevent it from escalating. We're doing everything we can to look out for the businesses, because that's important for not only you guys having jobs working here, but also the community having places that they can continue to shop.
Yeah, but you know what the new problem is? It's a hassle. Renton has inherited so many of Seattle's problems, it's a hassle. And people don't want to spend all day waiting around for a Seattle police officer to show up because there's not enough of them right now. Could be hours, if not the next day, till somebody actually shows up. Bruce Harrell, mayor of Seattle, can claim all he wants that things have gotten better around here. No, they really, really haven't. It's just kind of returned to the way it was when he was a city council member, where we're playing one giant game of whack-a-mole and not actually getting anybody off the streets. And you know why they stick around? You got to ask yourself, why do the homeless criminals stick around, the homeless vagrants? Because you keep giving them everything. You give them the needles, you give them the drugs, you give them the money, you give them the gift cards, you give them the cell phones, you give them apartments, you give them whatever they want. Of course they're going to stick around. Why would they ever leave when you are incentivizing their bad behavior? And then when they do something wrong, you release them for jail because, oh, they're just misunderstood. Like this story we have out of Spanaway, Washington. According to Como News, a judge reduced bail for a 17-year-old charged with killing 2 people during a gunfight outside a house party in Spanaway. The reduction from $2 million to $1 million was still well above the $250,000 that the teen's family and attorney had requested at a bail hearing on Monday. Good. He's accused of murder, double murder. It don't matter. Don't matter at all how old he is. A normal 17-year-old doesn't go and do that stuff. You know what a normal 17-year-old does? What my son does. He plays drums. He works on guitar. He plays games on his Xbox with his friends. That's what a normal, oh, wait, this one was a football star? Well, then why wasn't he, I don't know, at the gym playing sports with his friends? No. Instead, he allegedly pulled out a gun and shot a bunch of people. This is what his lawyer says. According to those who know him, he's polite and respectful young man. He's an accomplished athlete. He's done well in school and several programs. And then he allegedly pulled out a gun and tried to kill his friends that apparently respected him so much. He faces 2 counts of murder in the first degree, 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. Hey, Bob Ferguson, how'd he get the gun? I thought you can't do that here in Washington anymore. How'd he get the gun? He allegedly killed 2 teens and injured 3 others. Oh, by the way, he was also shot in the exchange, which means one of his oh-so-respectful friends also had a gun. How'd that one get it? So, somebody want to answer that question for me? By the way, why are we reducing bail at all? So it's easier for them to get the 10% to get the kid out of jail who allegedly shot 5 people, killing 2 of them, who were his friends who respected him? As the judge, I would say, well, if his friends respected him, they don't anymore because he allegedly shot all of them. Unbelievable. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Mark at Ellensburg. Mark, what's going on?
Well, Ari, I think you've probably noticed the big drive against Trump lately from the news media saying that he's ruining the economy, he's ruining people's retirements, the export of illegals is terrible, and on and on. I think the top Democrats are terrified that his programs are going to work.
I think that's exactly true. I think that's exactly right. I mean, we see that happening all the time.
They will not win next time if they work.
Yeah.
So I think they're terrified about it.
I think they're terrified about him, but you know what I think they're more terrified of? They're more terrified about J.D. Vance. You notice that they don't know how to tackle J.D. Vance, especially after yesterday when he had his mother's 10-year sobriety party at the White House. They don't know what to do with him. People love him. You know, I spoke to the East Side Republicans last month, and when I was there, I opened my remarks by saying the following. I said, gentlemen, we have a huge problem. And the ladies go, there's ladies here too. I go, ladies, I'll get to you in a minute. But gentlemen, we have a huge, huge problem. The women love J.D. Vance, and it's making us all look bad. And then I pointed to my attire, which my wife had helped craft, shall we say. I look more like J.D. Vance these days with some of the stuff I wear. We have a huge problem. Women love him, and Democrats don't know what to do about it because who do suburban moms usually vote for? They usually vote for Democrats, but it's all turned around. Mark, do you agree that J.D. Vance is a threat to all of us gentlemen out there?
Well, maybe, but he's also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
I can't wait to meet him one day. I have some requests out. Hopefully we get him on the show sometime. I would love to have him on the show because I would love to talk to him, but I'd also like to tell him how much I enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to tell him I didn't enjoy the book. Don't rat me out, okay, Mark?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, got one last true crime story for you here. This one comes to us from Como News out of Everett, Washington. An 11-year-old boy wanted for the attempted stabbing at Alderwood Middle School on Friday was booked into the Denny Juvenile Justice Center after one of his parents turned him in. Now, here's what I don't get. The kid was kicked out of school, I think the details are, but then he arrived on campus and nobody said, hey, maybe this kid shouldn't be on campus. The boy is a former Edmonds School District student and arrived on campus around 1:30 p.m. on a Friday before trying to stab another student, an 11-year-old. An 11-year-old. My kids were busy writing petitions to their teachers to get back their baseball when the teacher confiscated it because they were playing with a hardball. That's what my kids got in trouble for when they were that age. Thanks to a teacher who intervened before the victim was harmed, there were no injuries. The 11-year-old boy then fled and was at large until Sunday. Why wasn't the boy in school? Was he kicked out of another school? Did he have a violent past, violent behavior? This actually reminds me of a story. So the Jewish school calendar is obviously different than the public school calendar. And I remember one time, I must have been, 12, 13 years old, and I decided to go on a bike ride. And the place I always went riding my bike was actually through the grounds of a local elementary school because it had challenging terrain, and that's where I worked on my cycling skills. Well, I had forgotten that I was on spring break because of Passover, but they weren't on spring break, and they had school. The second I got on that campus, because I said, screw it, I'll just go through. Kids are kids. As soon as I got through, a teacher saw me escorted me off the campus nicely, politely, respectfully, understood what was going on most likely, and that way there weren't any problems. So I have questions about what this kid was doing on campus in the first place. And luckily that teacher intervened. But how'd the kid get so deep? Did it happen right at the edge of campus where he just saw the kid, waited for him at dismissal? Or is this something that sounded like it happened deeper on campus? Lots of questions about this story. When we come back, my friends, I think I'm finally seeing Trump's plan. What's going on with the tariffs? And I think it's working. I think the stock market sees it too, which is why they're freaking out. I'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com. Download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Radio legend Mark Christopher and I don't cross over that often because he's on in the morning and I don't come in until later in the day. But he was telling me today how much he enjoys listening to KVI on HD radio. Don't forget, if you have HD radio in your car, you can get us at 1015 HD3 on your HD radio. If you have an HD radio, that's what that means. If you don't know if you have an HD radio, if that little HD symbol lights up when you're listening to KVI, there are other options there. If you need a tutorial, email me. I'll send you the video Mike and young Zach and I did, what was it, like 3 years ago, showing everybody how that sucker works, right, Mike?
In a car you don't even have anymore.
In a car I don't even, we crammed young Zach in the back of the Challenger. I remember that, to make that video. And I remember my big takeaway from that video was, wow, my dashboard really needs to be dusted in here. I do remember that. Anyway, that's 101.5 FM HD3. For those of you who don't know what it is, head on over to 101.5 FM, our sister station, Hank FM. And if a little HD logo lights up there for you, just crank the knob slowly wait for it to register to 101.5-2, and then -3, and that's how you get that channel.
You might even say that you're going to crank the Hank.
Oh, exactly right.
And while you're there, visit crankthehankseattle.com for more information about our sister station, Hank FM.
Exactly. Country music, my friends. And don't forget to set it as a preset, so you don't have to do that every single time. You can do that. Now, switching gears over to what's going on out in D.C. So the press secretary was talking about trying to calm down the stock market a little bit today, which said this is what Donald Trump said he was going to do from the beginning with the tariffs, and it's working because over 70 countries have called them desperate to create trade deals with them.
The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world.
I saw a threat from China today, or maybe it's just Hollywood's worry about it because nobody's seeing their movies anymore. But what they said is that they're concerned that now China won't allow American movies into their market anymore. And I said that didn't stop Top Gun Maverick. You remember they said the movie can't, if you make good movies, people will see them overseas and they'll do well at the box office. Guess what? We'll survive if you make good movies. It's doable. You can fix it. But what's actually going on here? Because yesterday, Bibi Netanyahu came in and they discussed some deals. There's no firm deal yet, but they seem to be on their way to securing one. What is Donald Trump actually looking for? And I think it depends. Let's take the EU for a minute. So the EU said yesterday, okay, no tariffs. No tariffs. We fold, because that's what the European Union does. Quick, America, come protect us. Come save us. We give up. And that's the French, but they kind of run the show over there. So they folded immediately. But Donald Trump said, nah, not good enough. You know what I think it is? Last time I checked, the EU was buying their oil from Russia. So basically, they're funding the war against Ukraine because Russia is a gas station with a nuclear arsenal. So they say, we hate Russia, but we want to buy your oil. So I think it's more than just the tariffs. Donald Trump is saying, wait a minute, you buy our oil, we'll cut you a good deal, we'll make you the best deal, it'll be the greatest deal you've ever seen in your life. And by doing so, you have to do the transaction in American dollars, which then increases the buying power of the U.S. dollar and brings in American jobs. By the way, not so much to ask. Stop buying from Putin, who you think is the bad guy anyway. Buy it from us. Will it take a little longer to get there? Maybe. But you know what? If Ukraine gives us that mineral deals, who knows what we'll find over there? Let's work on that together. Oh, also, could you kick in a little bit more to helping defend Ukraine? Also, in the process, what that does is it takes money out of Russia's pocket. So Russia can't afford to buy mercenaries from North Korea or other countries anymore to fight Ukraine. Do you see the 4D chess Donald Trump is playing here? How about something else? He's bringing down the costs of gas because we're ramping up American energy. He's also bringing down inflation with everything that's going on. Joe Biden loaded a T-shirt cannon with cash and sprayed it into the economy. So what started happening was that inflation went up. Well, now that this money is fleeing the economy, inflation is going back down. And there are estimates that originally there were supposed to be 2 rate cuts this year by the Fed. Now there may be as many as 5 or 6. This whole thing is bringing down inflation. And the average person who doesn't have money in the stock market is looking at it and going, what's everybody freaking out about? My groceries are getting cheaper. My gas is getting cheaper. Not here in Washington, because now the taxes they have in place are designed to go up. I get that text or call every single time I mention gas prices. 35 states, the prices are going down because they don't have this climate stupidity that Washington and California and others do. Do you see the game of 4D chess here? What do we want out of each country? How can we benefit each country? By the way, if the EU does all that, then guess what? They won't have to worry about Ukraine anymore, and they won't have to worry about Russia anymore. These are sensible deals. And the sooner Wall Street wakes up to that, the faster all this insanity will be over. And we can get back to normal around here and make other things in America great again. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, got some good news headlines for you, my friends. Well, we rip on the ferry system. We rip on the Department of Transportation all the time. But local announcement, and I'm getting this from Dick's Drive-In on social media. They say that now Dick's Drive-In will begin operating on all Washington State ferries. Oh, wait a minute. That was for April 1st. But a lot of people actually fell for that one, and I had some of you reach out to me and say, Ari, did you see this news? Are you going to have him on the show to talk about it? And my first thing was, wait a minute, they got enough trouble keeping these ferries running in the first place. Do you think they're actually putting a Dick's Drive-In on board every single one of these ferries? Good one. I only saw that one later, my friends. I couldn't understand why people kept emailing me about the Dick's Drive-In. But they all fell for it.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I almost sent that to you myself because can we have a conversation about the April Fools? You're like, you dum-dums. You fell for it. You fell for something that seems like a relatively believable news story. Like, where is the joke?
Yes.
Is it that it's so unbelievable that they would make hamburgers on a boat?
Well, the joke is, we got you. Ha, ha, ha. Now, there's been a lot of these things that have actually caused news trouble. I don't get that. That's not a prank is meant to be funny where everybody can laugh about it afterwards. It's not really mean where I made you look like a dum-dum. You may disagree with me, everybody out there in the audience. I don't know. I think it's funnier when you do something and it's funnier and you can laugh about it with the person. Today, somebody sent me an email. Somebody got into somebody else's email account here at the office and sent me this ridiculous email. Funny. Ha ha. We all enjoyed a good laugh over it. It was entertaining. But this is just kind of mean at this point, don't you think, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, Mike agrees.
Well documented.
Well documented.
I'm like the guy in the office that has no patience for the April 1st shenanigans.
Yes.
Because I remember you and I had a conversation. You're like, yeah, wow, April Fool's kind of lame this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why? You're like, well, yeah, because there's usually all these dumb BS stories that like are usually funny and stuff. And I'm like, oh, thank heavens.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Mike. You're not wrong because a lot of people sent me that story.
Yeah.
Lots of people did. Now, this actually did get me thinking, though. We should reach out to Dick's Drive-In and see if we can work out an event with the food truck if they're still running that thing.
Sure.
And see if we could do something with that. I think that could be a lot.
I don't know. Maybe they'll send a meme and say, hey, food truck. And you just, can you believe it? That's so damn funny. I'm going to send it to all my friends.
Exactly.
You fell for it. I can't believe that's real.
Yeah, I don't get the appeal of that kind of humor, me personally. However,
that's just me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
The town grump.
I'll tell you a local story that this one actually put a smile on my face because I know the guy. Anybody here who's seen the Adam Sandler movie on Netflix, You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah? Now, it's a savory spice, as Mike would say. You have to like Adam Sandler. You have to like Adam Sandler's kids. You have to care about which nobody knows who Adam Sandler's kids are unless you like really like some of those movies and
my
can recognize
spirit
them.
has left my body. I'm
Right.
like, oh God. What is the hibbity to dibbity ratio here?
No. This is a movie that is designed for kids to watch with their parents kind of thing. So there's that on top of it. Anyway, there's a shtick where all the kids are having the bat mitzvahs, and everybody wants DJ Shmuley. The one DJ. He's the Uber DJ. Okay, he happens to be his co-star from the Zohan. He's that guy. Anyway, there's a guy that we nickname in our neighborhood DJ Shmuley. He's not DJ Shmuley. His name is Dancing Faraz. Faraz does all the Jewish events in Seward Park in Seattle. He does all the Jewish events. He's Iranian. He's not even Jewish, by the way. He's a lot of fun. He's a kick at events, and apparently does events for clubs and a lot of other people too, because he just got signed to a New York label. Dancing Faraz has a debut EP album, which features his first 4 singles. What was funny to me is the video on Como News. You can see people from the Jewish community going to his DJ performances and dancing in the crowd. I saw my brother-in-law in the video on Como News because he's friends with him. It was really funny. ARC Seattle co-anchor Steve McAaron chatted with Dancing Faraz about his ties to Western Washington, his love of music, and dancing developed and evolved with his brand new music. His first hit single, With My Friends, is available now on all platforms. You can see this video over on ARC's website and Como's website. He's a great DJ, by the way, our friend Dancing Faraz. He's a lot of fun, and congratulations on being signed with that New York label. Congratulations. I hope that means he's still doing the circuit around here. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement and a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement by Brian Evans at Madrona Financial and CPAs. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information to discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today to weather what's going on in the stock market, my friends. And we're also giving away 4 tickets to Motorsports Mayhem Monster Truck Insanity Next Level Tour at the Washington State Fair on April 19th. Get your tickets now at thefair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 wins a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement, and a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement by Madrona Financial, and 4 tickets to Motorsport Mayhem Monster Truck Insanity Next Level Tour at the Washington State Fair on April 19th. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, that's going to do it for me today, my friends. But fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.